Williams veers left, pulls up, looking for the lead, and got it. Jalen Williams, 2 seconds, 1:11:109. Now SGA probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Kenrich Williams. You're listening to Topic Thunder.
What is up, y'all? Welcome to the Topic Thunder podcast presented by the Believe Network. The Topic Champion podcast. I feel like we could even almost say if we really wanted to go ahead and go with that one, but we're feeling good, man. It's me and Alex tonight. Dylan taking a little bit of time off from the pod, so you'll have different hosts circling in through this time of the year. But it's me and Alex tonight. Alex, not Batcave, not Batmobile, kind of been like hanging out with Commissioner Gordon, I would say, is maybe the spot you're in right now. But how you doing, man?
Sure, why not? Yeah, I'm here with Commissioner Gordon, man. I'm good, man. I'm good. I woke up a champ. How about you?
Woke up a champ, man. Every single day for the last week and some change. Woke up a champ. Feeling fantastic, man. It's been awesome. I love the revelation every day where I'm just like, oh yeah, we won the championship. Like that's pretty cool. A pretty cool thing to think about every single day. Every day I feel like I tweet, hey, do y'all remember the Thunder NBA champions? And every day there are people like, yeah, dude, we get it. You guys won it all. But I hope they like those tweets for the rest of the summer because they're not going anywhere. But yeah, I mean, we're champs. When's the last time we podded? Did we pod post parade once, I think?
Yeah, we did. We podded Sunday, Monday, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, I thought there was one podcast since the parade. So the parade's come and went. It was incredible. Me there in person. I had an amazing time. It was super cool to see all of that. I tried to find Tyranny, but the service was so bad and there were genuinely so many people. I did not stand a chance in hell of finding Tyranny, but I'm sure he had a great time as well. And it was a lot of fun, man. It was one of those moments where it really felt like it set in that we were NBA champions. And I feel like I get that moment every few days where it like sets in again. Like I wake up in the morning and pretty much every day it's either been this shirt that's an NBA final shirt or the other one that's the NBA champion shirt. Kind of just cycling back and forth between the two of them right now. But it's nice to have that little revelation every single day. And of course, first thing that starts off every offseason, although this one was a little bit different, the Sam Presti presser came and went. I love hearing Presti kind of just talk philosophically about basically anything, really. He even got asked about his jazz rap albums, which resurfaced. I don't know if you've heard any of the clips of them, but pretty solid. You know, it's nothing super game-changing, but overall, I feel like Presti, for his first foray into jazz rap as one of the greatest basketball minds of our generation, I feel like it's a pretty good job. But yeah, we got some stuff out of that. I mean, what was your big takeaway? I'm sure, you know, the J-Dub wrist thing is kind of the biggest thing that came out of that presser for most people.
Basically, everything that came out in the first 5 minutes of that press, J-Dub's wrist injury, Topin, just those two things.
Couple days.
Kind of, just those two things are pretty much the big news items. Like the rest of it was more, the city, that future that we build, that bond that we have, and just kind of, it was kind of Presti's. It's been a while. It's been a while since he's always doing these press conferences and he's always saying what we got to do to get to that point, or what needs to happen to get to that point. And now that we're at that point, it was a little bit of a, hey, I want to thank everybody that's behind the scenes. I want to thank which he does that every year, but this time it just felt like, it had different meaning to it. It had different connotation to it. But yeah, man, everything was what you'd expect from it. It was just Sam Presti riffing like he was on a musical instrument. He was just riffing, man.
Yeah, like he was jazz rapping, if you really want to go that route. I mean, it was great. It was a phenomenal presser as usual from Presti. He kind of nails it every single time.
2 hours,
but
man.
Yeah, 2 hours post championship. Like, you might think that if we were going to an offseason where there are big question marks, like, nothing about the roster is really going to change outside of, shifting around two ways a little bit and trading away our guy Dylan Jones. Shout out to the NBA champion himself. But, yeah, like, nothing's going to change really about the roster super significantly, and it's still 2 hour presser. So, shout out to Presti for taking all that time. Yeah, the big news was early on where we found out that Jalen Williams, as we kind of knew, his wrist was not 100%, but it was confirmed that J-Dub's injury it was a torn wrist ligament that he suffered pre-playoffs in that game on April 9th, I believe it was, against the Phoenix Suns. And he played through the entire run with that wrist ligament injury. He needed surgery. He's going to be reevaluated in 12 weeks from when that surgery happened. That's about a month out from the season. So I'd be shocked if he missed any time to begin the year. If he's got to take his time, then, got to take his time. But I would be shocked, I think, if he misses any of the season. And I mean, the fact that he was able to not only be the second option on a championship run, but put up a 40 ball in the NBA Finals, we could tell that there was something going on a little bit. There was that one shot against the Nuggets, the three, where he screamed at his wrist and he always had it wrapped up a little bit. You could tell there was something going on, and now that clip is resurfacing of after he's asked about his wrist and if he was yelling at it, where he looks over the PR department. He's like, "Can I talk about that?" And I remember that clip and I was like, what does that mean? But I didn't think there would be anything wrong with him mentioning that it was bothering him a little bit, or maybe, they just didn't want to give any information to opposing teams on what that injury could be. But the fact that he was able to do all of that with a torn wrist ligament, I mean, he's legitimately superhero type stuff from him. Legend forever, obviously, just for being the second option in this title team. But to get it out through an injury like that, not just part of the playoff run, but the entire championship run, it's special stuff.
It is definitely special stuff. And I'm kind of glad that we waited till the end for that to come out. And I think the PR department did a good job when he asked. You don't want teams to that area of your body if it is injured, okay? But you don't want it to get injured even worse. So you don't want people to be, maybe push a bit more on your dribbles to where you maybe fall on the ground and re-injure that wrist or worse for yourself. And so, I mean, just the ability, nobody can question J-Dub's, want and his need to play and to play through pain in the big stage. There's a lot of times that, they use that as use, maybe after a poor performance or something. J-Dub had a couple of those, but it's become apparent now that a couple of those performances, maybe that wrist had, flared up, it got inflamed or something like that. And so, whenever you play in the playoffs, you just have one day in between games. You're able to rest it a little bit. You don't have back-to-backs. It really helped J-Dub a lot during the playoffs. And especially that week before the first round, that week after the sweep of the Grizzlies probably gave him a lot of needed rest to go through the rest of the playoffs, because literally it was basically one day off from the probably the Nuggets and the Timberwolves series. I think it was just a couple. There was maybe one or two games where they had 2 days, in between. Most of that part, it was just one day off. So that rest that he got after the Grizzlies, and then that rest that he got during the finals, whenever you had 2 days off in between, probably helped.
Yeah, I think it was every other day for the Nuggets series, and then Game 6 to Game 7 there was the 2-day rest. But outside of that, it was just one, and then 1 day off and right into the Timberwolves series, and that one I believe just was every other day at that point. Obviously, a little bit of time before the NBA Finals, and a few day rest between each of the Finals games like that. I mean, it comes up huge. It's why you aim for the 1 seed the way that we did, and it's also why people talk about. And obviously don't want to harp on it because I don't think either of us care at all. The people discussing asterisks, and this really goes for every ring, not just the championship the Thunder won, but every team's banged up. Exactly. Every team's banged. Put a ring on that middle finger, Alex. Every team's banged up in the playoffs. Sometimes there are injuries bigger than others. I'm not saying Dub's wrist is equivalent to Halliburton being physically unable to play because of an Achilles or things like that. But Dub was extremely banged up. Chet was, only half a season into recovering from a hip fracture. There are so many unseen things. No player is 100% that late in the season. When you're facing the physicality of the NBA every single day for an 82-game season, and then you go into the playoffs and you're playing the best teams and it gets more physical, nobody's 100%. It's why you see efficiency drop off from a lot of players in the playoffs. It's why you see, dings and bruises pop up and guys don't really feel like they're quite themselves in a bunch of different ways, not just in terms of scoring, but health is a big part of winning a championship, but there's a lot more just beyond what is shown in the injury report. And you can clearly see after the run that the Thunder were not 100%, and they were still able to go ahead and get the job done. And Dub, obviously, his wrist, a massive, massive part of that. So huge shout to him. Of course, released a YouTube video too, detailing his journey with the wrist injury, some behind the scenes with the parade. And he had that video like behind the scenes for the Grizzlies and the Nuggets series that went up today. I watched most of it, didn't want to get to the end of the Nuggets section, but cool to see some behind the scenes stuff. So shout out to Dub and JoJo for putting that together. But yeah, that was the big thing from Sam Presti's presser. I don't know if you have anything else you want to discuss specifically. There was the one quote that I love from him where they asked him about repeating and, what's the next step? And he said, before we can stack seasons, we have to stack days. Very Sam Presti type thing to say. And it's cool to hear him now be able to say like, oh, before we start stacking championship seasons, we have to stack days. Like the fact that he can talk about stacking championships, it just makes me so happy, man. Also, I hope, by the way, Alex and everyone out there had a fantastic Mark Daigneault day yesterday and a huge, incredibly celebratory Sam Presti day before that, before we get to Brandon Carlson Day coming up on this Monday.
Hey, do we play on Brandon Carlson Day? I think we do.
We do. Oh my God. I can only imagine the Carlson performance Day that Brandon Carlson's going to put together in Summer League on Brandon Carlson Day.
Which, we play on the 5th, Oklahoma City Thunder. Why have you not released the Summer League roster yet? Are you details? Are they still ironing out things?
I'm still working on my contract with them. It's my fault. I'm working on it. Don't worry, man. I'm gonna get it ironed out. I'm gonna get it ironed out. That's my fault, man. That's on me. Yeah, very Thunder that we won a championship and we're sitting here like, why is the Summer League roster not out yet? It's in 2 days. Where's the Summer League roster? Also, it really does put into perspective how quick everything goes when you see your team win a championship, especially going to a Game 7. Like every year, it feels like a lot, but especially with all the investment that we have, I'm like, oh my God, like there was the draft like 2 days later, 3 days later. And then, oh my God, free agency is a few days away from that. And what do you mean Summer League is like tomorrow? It's just, it's so much. It really does not stop until we get into like September, a little bit into August, but it's nonstop, man.
I'll tell you what, whenever the middle of July rolls around and there's literally nothing, like I'm gonna be like a crackhead needing a syringe. Like it's gonna be bad, man. Like literally, Game 7, parade, draft, introductory presser, and then you move on to Summer League. Once you get past Summer League, there's no Olympics this year. There's no there's no national team this year. Bare bones, man.
Yeah, lack of Olympics is gonna hurt. There might be Eurobasket this year. I think there is Eurobasket this year. So at least there's something. At least there'll be something. And then my Liberty gonna go for the repeat in the W.
For the Junkies.
Yeah, man. The good thing is nowadays it feels like there's always some basketball being played in some way, whether it's the NBA, the WNBA, college basketball, Eurobasket, Olympics some years. It is nice that it kind of is a somewhat year-round sport. Yeah, Big Three does their thing. The basketball tournament coming back through this summer. There's always always something fun going on with that too. Throwback teams and players to watch in that regard. But man. Really the only other stuff from the offseason, we got the J Will extension. We had the decline in signs. We love to go out and do those. AJ getting 3 years, $9 million. Great couple of contracts for those guys. And then the big thing, Shai getting the Supermax, 4 years, $285 million, deserving every single dollar of that, reaching a point where he's almost going to get paid $1 million per game, $71 million a year, or $71 million in that final year of the contract. It's a great deal, man. It feels like a steal. He didn't give up any money. People were talking about, him taking a pay cut and stuff like that. He didn't, because obviously he can get back into the marketplace quicker with the salary cap rising. By the time Shai's next contract rolls around, we're probably going to be paying him close to $100 million a season, close to that, if the cap continues to rise a lot, and of course with backloaded contracts. But man, it feels great. Like it was cool to see that. Obviously, like I never had any worries Shai wasn't going to sign the contract, but to actually see him now have it signed and know like 100%, no ifs, ands, buts about it. Shai is signed with the Oklahoma City Thunder through the 2031, or is it 2030 season? I think it's 2031 season.
2030, 31.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, signed through 2030, 2031, which doesn't even sound like a real year, to be honest. It's cool, man, to not only get it done, know that the guys are all back, and Shai, of course, the head of the Snake, is signed on that massive contract extension, which he 100% deserves. He did not need to take a pay cut. Just had one of the most accomplished seasons ever.
No.
There was no reason. People are like, oh, he's got to take a pay cut for this and that. I'm like, maybe next contract he can consider doing that. But right now, go get your $71 million, man. You just had one of the best seasons ever. He does not need to take a pay cut.
So I thought that he might possibly take a pay cut. But as I listened to like other podcasts and I remember that this is a players union and you don't want the best player now currently in the NBA taking a pay cut just to help owners, help these billionaire owners keep a team together and blah, blah, blah. No, these are billionaires, owners. Go ahead and figure it out yourselves. Go ahead and go to the, second apron and pay these players their due just amount. And so, yeah, I agree 100%. I am not with anybody saying that he should have taken a pay cut. No, he deserved the market dictates. That's what I always tell, my father-in-law, he always likes to argue with me about, these players, he can't believe the amount of money these players are making and that they don't, necessarily deserve it because all they're doing is playing a game, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like the market dictates. Like he talks a lot about Chet, and he's like, and I'm like, Chet's going to get the max. And he's like, how? And I'm like, the market dictates. Yeah. It's all about the market. And this is your best player in the league. And so the market dictates that he gets the biggest salary. He does currently have that. So props to him. Well-deserved. No problem on my end. I'm pretty sure no problem on ownership's end. Go ahead and get yours and keep performing at the level that you've been performing.
Yeah, it's like you said, to have the guy who is the reigning MVP, Finals MVP, take a pay cut. It would have been, the players union probably would not have liked that very much. And I think it makes more sense if Shai's going to take one. Like on this first Supermax, yeah. But on the second one, I could see a world where he chops off a few $1 million when he's already made now $280 million, to maybe then at that point, Chet and Dub are getting paid more. They're coming up on their actual contracts because this is gonna be rookie scale maxes type thing. Like they're not going to be Supermax eligible for these extensions. So you pay those guys and they're going to need another big payday not too far away. Maybe then at that point, I could see a world where if he really is trying to keep everybody together, he takes a pay cut then. But even then, when you have a player of Shai's caliber, I don't think he should or needs to. It's completely up to him. If he wants to, awesome. That's super helpful. But at the same time, Shai knocking off $10 million a year, so knocks off $40 million, is not going to change what we're able to do with this team. It's not really going to change anything. And Presti is smart enough, and this front office is smart enough to work around things. They've got picks, they've got all these different fail safes in play to organize things. I mean, you're coming off a championship. It's not like we barely lost this year and everybody's getting paid and we're close to the second apron and it's oh my gosh, we have no money. Shai, we need you to take a pay cut. Brunson did that. But the Knicks are not a championship contender. They haven't been the past couple of years. They're trying to get to that point, and they're very, very expensive. The Thunder are nowhere near that threshold. There's no necessity for Shai to take a pay cut right now.
And it's not just that. If you look at the team's salary sheet, they have plans in place. Literally, this next year everybody's locked in. But the 26-27 season, you have Lou Dort, Hartenstein, Kenrich, all coming up on team options. And so the team can kind of decide where they want to go, what they want to do from that point, whether they want to, and they'll probably trade away players before that happens because they never like them to reach, unrestricted free agency or anything like that. But you can tell that they have a vision in place as far as how the salary sheet is going to go. And they know when the big money's coming in. They know when it's going to get very expensive. And so they know when it's, they can kind of cut and run if they need to. If they're winning championships, then maybe they just keep this team together and keep rolling, But they have a plan in place. If you look at the salary sheet, they have a plan in place. That's why Jay Will, 3 years, AJ Mitchell, 3 years. You see that kind of in play as far as how they're spacing out these salaries and these contracts.
Yeah, anyone who doubts Presti at this point, I genuinely don't know how you could. So shout out to Shai getting paid.
You're just a hater.
Yeah, honestly, at that point, that's kind of where it's at. Which is it makes me so happy that Presti got the ring now, because not only does ring culture apply to players, but like executives, it's so clear for so long that Presti has been one of the best sports executives of this era. But it was like, they're like, oh, but it hasn't led to a championship. Like, a GM cannot will a team to a championship. You can put them in position to win a championship. And I think Presti did that the first time with Russ and KD and Harden. You know, trading away Harden, that was more so ownership not wanting to pay up rather than Presti being like, we got to get rid of this guy. But I feel like just in general, the Thunder had shots, but dealt with injuries and then ran into a dynastic Golden State Warriors team. And then this time he does it again. But I guarantee you, if we lost, people would still not recognize what he's done, you know, what he's managed to put together for a second time. Yeah. And so it's just, I'm very happy that he's now able to get his flowers without any of that, oh, but what about the ring type thing? Like, a GM, I don't grade GMs based off rings. I grade them off their ability to put teams in position to compete for championships at a realistic level. Like, you know, I'm not going to give credit to a GM who makes a team a playoff team every year, but if you're putting teams in positions to compete for championships regularly, then I think you're just a fantastic GM. Like, that's the way it goes. And Presti's now built two of the best young teams ever. And like, literally had his first shot, didn't win a ring, immediate second shot that he gets with the same franchise, he's like, oh, cool, I figured it out now, and here's the second youngest champion ever. So shout out to Sam for that one. Also on the Sam note, and just extensions. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Never mind.
So, I mean, the good thing about Sam, is that he learned from the first.
100%.
You know, he learned, like, he learned, like, I'm pretty sure they're going to value. Number one, he probably learned type of person, what type of leaders he needs to get from. That's probably something that was a little bit maybe out of his hands in the first. You have to draft the players that you can draft, like Kevin Durant at number 2. You know, Russell Westbrook, they did like scouting him and picking him higher than people thought. But that combination of those two players didn't really work out as well as it seems like Shai, Dub, Chet triarchy is working out pretty good. And so he's learned from his mistakes. He learned how to manage, you know, the salary cap, the CBA. He's learned when to make moves in the timeline of the CBA. One of the most important things that I think he said in this past presser was that we're not going to hit the repeater tax until the new CBA comes out. 2029, I think. You know, the current CBA is a 6-year deal. So like 2029, 2030 is when they'll renegotiate the new CBA. And so maybe in this new CBA, maybe he's not necessarily pushing for small markets. Maybe he's, you know, a super team type team now with Oklahoma City, and maybe, but he's able to control the South off of the CBA so that he doesn't get screwed like he did during the Durant-Westbrook iteration of the Thunder.
Yeah, and it's why, you know, people are like, oh, you got to go in, you got to do this, but we kind of were patient and waited. Obviously, we didn't really go all in ever, but we were very patient, not making any rush type of moves with the new CBA right around the corner. Like Presti, it made it very clear without saying it outright that they wanted to see how the new CBA was going to work before getting too much into anything. And I mean, it's just, we're an incredibly well-run team. Like, that's really kind of where it is. And I think about a lot of the moves that we've seen this offseason, which we can talk about here in a moment after we talk about a couple of other extension guys. But like, there are so many times I've seen moves this offseason and I'm like, man, I'm so happy we have Sam Presti. I'm so happy that we're Thunder fans. Like, the Pelicans trading that unprotected pick swap between them and the Bucks next season, moving up for Derek Queen, man. It was like Derek Queen, don't love the direction they're going and hate them giving up that pick, man. It is, that could be rough. But real quick, let's talk about Dub and Chet. Neither one of them have signed their extension quite yet. It is expected they're going to do it at some point. But, I mean, some people are freaking out about it. You know, they're like, oh, when is this going to happen? I mean, Chet's got, like, obviously they just won a championship. I think they're letting the guys do their own thing for a little bit, spend time with family. Chet just had his camp. Dub just got surgery on his wrist. So unless he's got pretty good left-handed penmanship, it's going to be hard for him to sign an extension. Maybe he can get someone to help him out a little bit there. But yeah, like, I'm not worried about it at all. Like, that they're going to sign those extensions, and like, they're obviously restricted free agents anyways coming up. It's not like, oh, they could leave in free agency next year. I'm going to be excited when they sign those extensions, but I don't think the team's in any rush to get things done. That's kind of the Thunder style, is they're like, we know what's going to happen. We'll get it done when we get it done. So
let me ask you a question. So So Dub, I think, is full on 5 years, 296, I think, or is it something like? No, that's too much.
Yeah, it's
5 years, like
rookie scale
196,
max.
I think.
I forget what the rookie scale max is right now. What is the rookie scale max? I think it gets up to like, here it is. Okay, so it looks like it's around $38 million ish.
38?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so damn near 40. So about 5 years, 196, around there. So Dub, give him that 100% all years guaranteed. Chet, do you have any built-in security parameters for any injuries or anything like that? Do you do that? If you
I don't think they will. I could see a world where they try and fit that in, but I don't think they will, just out of good faith, because it's been a couple freak injuries for Chet. It's not like, oh, he's always got like this banged up ankle or he's got like this foot injury. Like it's, two super freak things that don't affect him long term. So I don't think anything like that gets built in. Maybe they put in like some type of stipulation like way in the back end of the contract, but I think coming off the championship and how good he was, even considering the injury, I don't think so. I know some people are talking about maybe he gets less than the max. I think Chet just gets the max. I don't really think they want to mess with any of that, and I don't think, they're going to make Chet take less than the max. I don't think you want to offer that and risk him being like, whoa, I just, was a huge part of us winning a championship. Obviously, him staying healthy is super important and that's going to be needed going forward, but I'm not super worried about that. The first season coming off his injury, he played 82 games. So, who knows? Who's not to say that this season, if he didn't break his hip, I don't think they have him play all 82 again, because obviously he needed rest at some point, but very easily could have had a chance to play the 65 necessary to potentially win like a DPOY or be an all defensive player or something like that. So I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering your take on it. I would not mess with the max. I may mess with as far as maybe the last year being a team option as opposed to a player option.
Yeah, Presti loves to get those team options in there somehow. Big fan of the decline in sign. It feels like that's kind of his MO at this point. But yeah, so that's those extensions. Yeah. We can move on real quick now to some offseason stuff. I know you put in here, Alex, you want to talk real quick about Kevin Durant was asked a little bit on, I think, was this quote from Mind the Game? Was this the Mind the Game episode he did with LeBron and Steve Nash? Okay. I still need to watch that, but I saw the quote going around saying that the first iteration of the Thunder got too good too quick. And, we just kind of want to talk about our thoughts on that a little bit. I'll let you go first since you put it in here. What are your thoughts on that quote, that the Thunder got too good too quick in that era?
I tend to agree with him. I tend to agree that, that was my biggest worry with this iteration. And I think, this, you could have easily, let's say they lose to the Pacers this year. You could have easily said that, hey, they're just too good, too quick. The money, it's just, so I think what happened with, literally with the first iteration was that they got too good, too quick. And it was a situation where you almost didn't allow somebody like Presti to learn along the at that rate, at that speed. He had learned at a quick rate, the CBA midstream, and I think that kind of messed with him that way. But it also probably messed with ownership. That, oh crap, we just brought Oklahoma City. They're already contending for a championship. These guys are already coming up on their second extension of their on their salaries, and that's going to be making a lot more money. You have these two guys, Harden and Ibaka, that the alphas on the team, but they definitely are needed on the team. And so how are you going to pay them? And so I do think that they're too good, too fast. And that's not their fault. You had a young GM, you had a young ownership group as far as how long they had owned a team in the NBA. And so I do think that it happened too quickly for them. Fast forward, 13 years later, where we're at now, and I think all those other entities, the ownership group, sure, they're a lot more experienced. They're a lot more hardened by their experiences and what they've learned. So I think now they were able to put together a that was able to win in this culture.
Yeah, I think that.
Oh no,
the getting too quick too soon. I do think that is something that happened for that team, specifically because it was early on in the Thunder's existence, and with Presti as this newer general manager when it comes to that level of team. Obviously, I don't think this team, we won a championship, so it's hard to say you got too good too quick. But I think, again, the team got to this level faster than almost anybody expected. And a lot of that was, I think part of that was good GMing from Sam Presti. You learn from mistakes, but it works out because now Presti has that experience. He saw a team capable of doing that. He's so good at putting these teams together that sometimes they evolve too rapidly and you don't have time to notice some of your flaws or let the team kind of gel the way that it needs to get over the hump. Like maybe if that Thunder team, the first one, makes it to the finals a year after when they did, then maybe they end up, having gotten a little bit more experience and, you make some changes, but you're like, we keep the team together. I don't know. It feels like maybe things go different in an alternate reality. It's really hard to say. And I do think, some people kind of took it the wrong way with Kevin Durant and pushed it back towards him that, it was his fault or this and that. But I really just think when it comes down to it, we had 3 MVP level players, and Harden, was kind of told by people on Team USA, like, hey, you got to go get your own team type of thing. And they didn't give him the money that he wanted. So he's like, you know what? I do want my own team. And things kind of blew up. They dealt with some injuries and they don't end up getting back to that point. I also think being as good as they were that early builds up these insane expectations. It creates a lot of pressure that ultimately sometimes teams can succumb to. And I think the temperament that Presti and this front office have built out with this team, the leadership of Mark Daignault, who's just a phenomenal coach and I think does a great job of keeping everybody very level-headed, is a big reason why they were able to get over the hump this time in this first appearance, as opposed to potentially needing a second opportunity, like the first team would have needed if they're going to go ahead and win it all. So I do tend to agree with the quote as well. I think they did get too fast, a little bit too quick. And we see that sometimes with I think about the Mavericks, although, Brunson ended up working out in a way, but the Mavs got so good so quick with Luka Doncic where they didn't really have time to get him a co-star. And then it ends up to the point where it's not really working. But then they made the move to get Kyrie and it kind of worked. And then they trade him away anyways. But we see that sometimes where a team will draft a player who's just really good from the get-go. And because they're so good, there's no time for them to be able to get a co-star through the draft. And I mean, LeBron, that kind of happened with in Cleveland, his first stint, where they draft LeBron James and suddenly he elevates them so rapidly and they haven't had a chance to be really bad for a few years to the point where they can get him, this top tier co-star. It's kind of similar in terms of when you reach the NBA mountaintop. A lot of teams make it to the finals, but, aren't able to get over the hump, and things can devolve really quickly. I mean, we also have here in the doc, the Pacers are just completely screwed for next season and maybe beyond. They lose Miles Turner out of absolutely nowhere. They were just in Game 7 of the finals a little over a week ago. Halliburton tears his Achilles. Miles Turner is gone now. We don't know what the team's going to look like. And now the front office has shown, at least for the time being, they're not willing to pay into the tax. And that doesn't make me feel good about them competing further. Again, we talk about the great ownership and, front office presence in Oklahoma City, how we don't worry about things like that. But it just, things can change so quickly, man. It's so rapid. It can devolve so fast in the NBA. It's another thing, people are yeah, your Thunder winning would be cool, but I want to see the Pacers win because the Thunder will be back here. If you want to root for the Pacers, go for it. But there's no guarantee the Thunder were ever going to be back. There's no guarantee we are ever back in the NBA Finals. I believe we will be, and I believe we'll win multiple championships with this group. But we saw in the first stint, there's no guarantees in the NBA. So, yeah, all that to say, I think Katie was right on that quote, and I absolutely hate what happened to the Pacers, man. It absolutely sucks that this is the way things are going for them.
Most definitely, man. I the first iteration, I actually missed Game 2 of the NBA Finals. I'll be back for Game 6. If win it in Miami, they never got back to the finals.
Yeah,
that's my biggest regret as a fan, is that I didn't go to Game 2. I didn't get to experience that. And, this is going to be a yearly thing where we're going to the final back. And it was just So this year, whenever we made our run, like I literally tried every game. Now, there didn't go because I had a kid graduating, and during I think it was the second round or the conference finals game 2, I couldn't go to that. My other daughter, she had a national volleyball tournament in Orlando, which, but know that it is not a guarantee that we every year. Injuries happen, these occur, other dynasties on other teams occur, and sometimes the second time. And so, enjoy this championship and you can, because it's not always guaranteed that they'll be back.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people being like, damn, man, you're spending all this money to go all these finals games. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it feels like we'll be back, but I don't have any guarantee. I'm going to do whatever I can to see the Thunder in the finals as many times as possible in person. I was like, I'm going to Game 7 at all costs, because how often am I going to get the chance to see the Thunder in the NBA finals? Like, maybe it happens 4 or 5 more times we go on this dynastic run, but especially Game 7 of the NBA Finals in Oklahoma City, that may never happen again. It hasn't happened since 2016 that there's been a Game 7, never mind our favorite team being in it. So, yeah, man, shout out to the Pacers. I really hope 2027 they're able to kind of get it back on track. But I guess we can kind of get into some of the free agency stuff, and mainly, I mean, the Western Conference. Houston and Denver have definitely upped their games over the course of this offseason. I know we've talked about it a bit in the group chat. Nuggets big moves, adding Cam Johnson in that swap for Michael Porter Jr. and also giving up a first-round pick. They also add Tim Hardaway Jr., and it seemed like they were going to add Valanciunas, but now it seems like he's going to play in Greece, is the report at the moment, which honestly, kind of sad about that, because I just don't think Valanciunas is very good, and I was excited to see a slow-footed big to back up Nikola Jokic. And now, maybe they go out there and get Al Horford, who also is, he's old, but Al Horford is just very savvy as a veteran. So I'd prefer if they didn't end up landing him, or maybe they just got stuck with. I love DeRon Holmes through the draft, but coming off injury, I don't know what he's going to look like as their backup big, or maybe they just trot the corpse of DeAndre Jordan out there one more time. I don't know, but honestly kind of sad that it seems like Valanciunas won't be their backup center. So they've made some good moves. And then Houston obviously adds Kevin Durant, adds Dorian Finney-Smith too into the fold, adds Clint Capella kind of out of nowhere, which is still one of the weirder moves of this offseason to me. It seems like they really want to lean to that double big identity. Maybe Şengün plays a lot more 4, and it's either Steven Adams or Clint Capella out there with a lot of times, but I also just don't think Clint Capella is very good at this point. So that move is a little bit confusing. They've both made weird moves a little bit to me with that center position, but it seems like just going with more size is kind of the way teams are going. And I mean, Denver has needed a backup big for a while. So, I mean, yeah, they've definitely gotten better. I feel good that we're still the best team in the Western Conference, but they've definitely improved. I mean, if you had to say out of those two teams, who do you feel like right now is the bigger threat to us going into next season?
I think it's Houston. I know a lot of people, because they also have the defense. And they're coached by a defensive-minded coach. And so I think it's Houston. I think they had last season, and I think they did the moves they put this year to go ahead and bolster their bench. Getting Dorian Finney-Smith. Those are starter players, but if they're playing against your bench, 95% of the in the NBA, they're going to fry their bench. Maybe not us, maybe not somebody like the Pacers or a team like the Pacers that had the depth that they had, but most of the teams in the NBA, they're going to cook them on the off the bench. And so, those are those moments in those games where either you build up a lead and it goes from 8 to 16 to 20 by halftime, and the game's basically over, or you cut into deficits. Let's see the starters don't do too well and they're down by 8. Then the bench comes in and they go up by 4 somehow when the starters come back in. And so, those types of things scare me a little bit with Houston. Am I completely scared? No. Team's doing things and you're not doing anything. You're like, hey, what's going on? But at the same time, you need to realize that our team, our guys are going to come in. They're going to come in better. They're a year older. They have an off better. They have the experience from the finals. They have the experience from winning the finals. And so, one of the things that I say is once you have a team that gets that first final down, their confidence and their experience level and their just their know-how in dealing with certain pressures. Not a lot of the NBA has dealt with. We have it now. And so, they don't need to pick up a veteran here or there to get experience. They are champions. So it changes the dynamic a little bit mentally. And so I'm not too worried about the regular season.
Yeah. Houston's really good. I think they're probably my biggest winners of the offseason right now. KD adds a lot to that team offensively. Like, they needed that dynamic, that go-to scorer. I know a lot of Thunder fans, really don't like Kevin Durant, but he's one of the greatest scorers of all time for a reason. And just the ability of him to be that go-to guy, a release valve for Amin Thompson and Alperen Şengün, and a knockdown shooter, and not to mention Dorian Finney-Smith, adds to that defensive identity, but really gives them a great shooter who was one of the most important players for the Lakers all down the stretch last season, can play a couple of different positions. Will just give them even more strength in terms of that defense, that length. Like, that is a really good team, especially if they get leaps from Amin, who feels like he is an all-star, all-NBA caliber player in the making, all-defensive level player this season, of course. Feels like he could be a future depoy. Şengün is getting better too. He's rapidly ascending as well. Was an all-star, was their best player this past season. And you move off of a very unreliable offensive player in Jalen Green. I feel like the Rockets pretty across the board got better this season. Really the only thing that I still feel like they lack a little bit in his guard play. Like, it's Fred VanVleet, and Amin is kind of that guard, but the handle still feels like it needs a little bit of improvement. Maybe that will be something he'll be a lot better at going into next season, but obviously, we have to wait and see. And just bench guard play. Aaron Holiday is like a fine option, but I think if they added one more guard, a little bit more on-ball juice, then I'd be a little bit more scared. But obviously KD, you can put the ball in his hands. He can make things happen. Maybe Reed Shepherd is ready to step into a bigger role as well. We'll have to see this upcoming season with him being a top 3 pick last summer. But the Rockets are really good. I feel pretty confident that it's them and Denver, 2A, 2B in the Western Conference. I lean slightly, I think, Denver as the bigger threat to us. You can go really either way with Houston or Denver. The only reason that I lean Denver slightly is because their best player is Nikola Jokic, and Jokic is an absolute monster, as we saw firsthand in the playoffs. And when you have a guy of that caliber, you give him a more consistent, and I would just say more all-around offensive player in Cam Johnson, who gives you a bit more playmaking, a bit more in terms of being able to attack off the dribble, play make a little bit more. I think he's a great fit in that system, a little bit of a better defender. I don't think he's like this all-world like upgrade over Michael Porter Jr. I think he is an upgrade, but I don't think the Nuggets needed all that much in terms of upgrades. Really, I think they needed more depth. And when you added Tim Hardaway Jr., who is a volume shooter, although defensively, obviously still not a guy you're really going to rely on. Again, Valanciunas, they tried to add him, but he seemingly is going to be gone. Like, I do think Denver, we'll see what they do now in terms of a backup big. If they add an Al Horford, I think that's an amazing acquisition. Not really sure who else is still out there on the backup big market at this point, like other than like a Eubanks, I think is out there right now. I know he just got cut, but that's not really moving any mountains for me. So
Jock
Landale is out there right now. I'm actually going to see if there's any other free agent bigs that I'm forgetting about. It really feels like almost everybody has been scooped up at this point.
Bismack Biyombo.
Thunder legend, I was just going to say Bismack Biyombo is out there. DeAndre Jordan is a free agent at the moment. They could bring him back. Yeah, it's like Alex Len, Nuggets legend Bol, Kai Jones, Thomas Bryant is out there right now. Yeah, it's not a lot of Tristan Thompson at 34 years old. It's not a lot of great options.
He's only 34.
It feels like he should be like 40, right? Yeah, so not the best group of options out there. I mean, maybe it just is Deron Holmes playing backup big for them next season. But I think just in general, and Bruce Brown, I didn't even mention Bruce Brown. I don't know what he's going to look like. He wasn't great last season, but had some solid run. He's been pretty injury prone over his last couple of seasons, so we'll see where he's at. But I mean, Bruce Brown played by far the best season of his career in Denver. Like, if he can get back a little bit of what he showed there, obviously it's not Michael Malone's system anymore. It's David Adelman's, which, not super different, but if he can just get back a little bit of that juice playing with Jokic and off the rest of those guys, then I mean, the Nuggets look really, really good. That's another team. I feel like if they get a little bit more defensively, I would still like to see a little bit more guard play, because I do think losing Russell Westbrook hurts them in terms of the rim pressure, the aggressiveness, the energy that he brought. Russ is nowhere near a perfect player. We know that firsthand, but Russ brings you a lot of that energy. I mean, he won them, it felt like, a couple of games. There was a big reason why they won a couple of games against the Clippers in that series, and played some great defense on Shai and just really a lot of guys in general going up against us. So I do think they're going to miss Russ. I'm interested to see where he goes. It seems like it's probably Sacramento, which makes me sad because I want to see Russ play on a competitive team. But we'll see where they're at. So I think I'd lean
Milwaukee, baby.
I mean, sure. Why not? Have him go play with Giannis, I guess. I don't think Milwaukee's going to be very good, but I mean, why? It's the same way I feel about Chris Paul. Like, it sounds like he's probably going to go to Los Angeles or Phoenix, and I don't know, man. Like, the Clippers, they're not going to – I think that they'll be good again, but they're not really going to compete for a championship. Like, they're not going to match up against us or Denver now, I don't think, or Houston. Like, they'll be good, but obviously the injury issues. And then I just don't want to see Chris Paul play maybe his last season back in Phoenix, to be honest. Phoenix Chris Paul was awesome, but that team's just not going to be very good. So we'll see where they go on that front. Yeah.
It's kind of a shame that we literally don't have any roster spots open, and players are guards. So it would not make any sense at all to bring back somebody like Chris Paul or even Russell Westbrook. I'm not a huge fan of bringing Russell back. I love Russell, but I don't think he works on his team. The way he plays, his more, pass type game probably fits a little bit of this team more than Russell does. But we just don't. Yeah. It would have been cool, but we don't have any slots.
Yeah, I mean, we got this embarrassment of riches, which, I mean, kind of leads us right into Summer League. We can talk about that a little bit before we get on out of here. We don't know the roster like we talked about, but shout out to our guy, Adam Flagler. It sounds like he's going to be playing over on the Hawks Summer League roster, so it seems like Brooks Barnhizer is taking Flagler's two-way spot. So Dukas and Carlson pretty likely going to be playing Summer League there. I'm interested to see if AJ plays Summer League. I would guess he probably plays at least maybe Utah or a couple games in Utah, and then maybe sits out for Vegas.
I think so.
But Topic is the real storyline, man. I'm so excited to see Topic hoop for the first time in a Thunder uniform. It's going to be really, really fun. His first game is July 5th, this Saturday, and then we play again Monday versus the Sixers in the Utah Summer League, the next day against the Jazz on July 8th, and then Vegas Summer League starts July 10th. So we're going to be getting a lot of Nikola Topic hoops, which I'm really excited about. Obviously, Thunder continue to maybe need a little bit more for bench creation, a little bit more ball handling, playmaking, and that's all things that Topic is supposed to bring to the table, man. And obviously, we didn't get to see him play last season, out all year with that injury, but he did enough to help us get a championship. And shout out to our guy Matt Tierney rocking the Nikola Topic finals patch jersey. You love to see that. I hope he wears it on July 5th and honor of him making his Thunder debut with a ring. He's gonna be getting a ring before he plays his first NBA minute, and that is actually the sickest possible circumstance you could be in. So shout out to Topic. I'm excited to see him hoop. And I guess what are some of your expectations, or what are you just kind of hoping to see from Topic out of his first Thunder action?
I mean, I just want to see. I honestly want to see how he defends in his shot. Yeah. Those are the skills that can good rotation player to great rotation player. If he's able to hit a corner shot or just an outside shot, and how he defends against other players, that's what I'm looking forward to see. I have zero to low expectations of this team as far as winning anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, they may surprise. They may come out. Topic may be the floor general of all Summer League floor generals, and may lead them to victories. But yeah, I definitely want to see how he. How he, out there and how he scores. Just basically every. He's been that box of mystery just sitting on the bench for an entire. I really want to see what he can bring to a team that's already a championship team. I want to see how he carve out minutes for himself on this team that just won a championship.
Yeah, and I mean it's can't be forgotten that he was supposed to be a top 5, 4, maybe even 3 pick if he didn't have that injury going into the draft. Yeah. And we ended up getting to steal him away at number 11, and he comes into, or was it 12? I think
we got him at 12.
Okay, 12. I don't know why I thought 11.
And here's the thing. I just want him to be good so that we can scream at Houston fans that they gave us that pick, because that was the Houston pick that year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, just because he's kind of this bigger playmaking guard with some questions about the shot, think he's like Josh Giddey 2.0. But Topic has some very different skills. Like he was really good attacking the rim going into this, going into the draft in his final season overseas. He was really good attacking downhill, finishing around the rim. Obviously, the playmaking is there somewhere to Giddey, but I feel like there is higher upside with Topic when it comes to some of those swing skills that Giddey wasn't able to put together with the team. But I mean, just in general, I just want to see him, showcase a lot of the shot, like we talked about. Just kind of carve up some of these defenses, give me some flashy passes, play decently well defensively, and I'm gonna feel good about it. But yeah, man, I think that's all we've got for the pod. For tonight, we can go ahead and get y'all on out of here. Enjoy your Brandon Carlson Day on Monday, and then I can't remember what the next day is. It's either
and
Alex
your
Dukas
4th
or
of
Adam
July.
Flagler Day, I think.
Your 4th of July. Now
I guess
the 4th of July has different significance for Thunder fans. We don't care about that other 4th of July that happened 9 years ago.
Yeah.
We're good now.
Yeah, we're good now. And I mean, it's hard for me to really think about 4th of July, to be honest, when Brandon Carlson Day is right around the corner. I've had that one marked on my calendar for years at this point. Every year, man, that Brandon Carlson Day sneaks up on y'all. But Unk, Cam, Andrew, Kyle, everybody in the chat, we appreciate y'all tuning in as always. Make sure to subscribe, leave a like on the stream, on the show here on YouTube to see podcasts. We'll continue to podcast throughout the summer. Download, rate 5 stars on audio platforms, everything like that. But yeah, we're not going anywhere. We will see y'all to talk about Nikola Topic, Summer League coming up. It's a shame Thomas Sorber's not going to be there. Also, I guess Brooks Barnheiser, Summer League as well. He should be out there too.
Excited for that.
Excited to see what kind of defense he can bring to the table, man. It's going to be fun. I love a Summer League coming off a championship where there's no expectations.
Summer League Caruso, baby.
Man, that would be... At some point, some team needs to just run like an Alex Caruso, just some like veteran NBA player out there in Summer League, and just be like, hell yeah, well, let's just go win a ring for no reason. Like, get Wemby out there one of these years. But for right now, we appreciate y'all tuning in as always. To the Topic Thunder podcast. God bless, hoop when you can, and as always, Thunder.